In this video, we'll present a selection of 10 films about serial killers that were based on real criminals. In this list, we'll explore movies that portray or are inspired by real-life killers. Which of these stories do you find most disturbing? Share your opinion in the comments. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Considered one of the most iconic horror films of all time, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre stars Gunnar Hansen as Leatherface, a psychotic serial killer in rural Texas. Although the film is entirely fictional, Leatherface was inspired by Ed Gein, a killer and grave robber. Gein never used a chainsaw, and his crimes occurred in Wisconsin, not Texas. However, like Leatherface, Gein exhumed corpses, decorated his house with bones, and wore masks made of skin. He also killed 2 women in the 1950s, leading to his internment at the Mendota Mental Health Institute in Wisconsin. Hannibal Lecter, The Silence of the Lambs. Hannibal Lecter, played by Anthony Hopkins, appears for less than 20 minutes in The Silence of the Lambs, but his presence is striking. Author Thomas Harris reportedly based the character on a doctor named Alfredo Trevino, whom he met while writing for Argosy magazine. Harris was inspired by Trevino's elegance, reserved nature, and peculiar understanding of the criminal mind. Trevino was serving a life sentence for murdering and dismembering his boyfriend, and was also suspected of other crimes in the 1950s and 1960s. Anthony Perkins, Psycho. Anthony Perkins delivered one of cinema's most memorable performances as Norman Bates. Considered one of the most iconic characters in film history, Norman is the disturbed owner of the Bates Motel, who dresses as his deceased mother and kills the motel's guests. Like Leatherface, Norman Bates was partially inspired by Ed Gein. Gein was very close to his mother, and her death in 1945 may have contributed to his mental deterioration. Years later, Gein began exhuming bodies of women who looked like his mother, trying to create a garment to become her. Sound familiar? Don Burnside, Frailty. This suspense drama follows Fenton Meeks, a 16-year-old from the town of Thurman, who begins to suspect that his father is a serial killer with a particular obsession. The father, Don Meeks, played by Bill Paxton, is a respectable man active in the local community. He is loosely based on Dennis Rader, known as BTK, an acronym for Bind, Torture, Kill. Rader operated between 1974 and 1991, killing 10 people. Like Don Meeks, BTK was an active community member, participating in church and the Boy Scouts. He was only captured in 2005, more than 30 years after the start of his crimes. Kit and Holly, Badlands. In Terrence Malick's directorial debut, Badlands stars Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek as Kit Carruthers, 25, and Holly Sargis, 15. Holly falls in love with Kit, and the two move to Montana, where they commit a series of crimes. The film is loosely inspired by the crimes of Charles Starkweather and Carol Ann Fugate in the late 1950s. Just as Kit kills Holly's father, Charles also killed Carol's stepfather. However, the true story has significant differences. Charles also murdered Carol's mother and younger sister. He was 19 while Carol was 14, and their crimes occurred in Nebraska and Wyoming. Additionally, Carol was sentenced to life in prison, unlike the film where Holly receives parole. Mick Taylor, Wolf Creek. This brutal film follows 3 friends traveling through Australia who are approached by local Mick Taylor in Wolf Creek National Park. Mick pursues the group and ends up killing 2 of them, while the third manages to escape. Writer and director Greg McLean based the story on the backpacker murders committed by Ivan Milat, who killed 7 travelers between 1989 and 1993 in New South Wales, Australia. The film is also inspired by Bradley John Murdoch, who murdered British backpacker Peter Falconio in 2001. Similarly, Falconio's girlfriend, Joanne Lees, managed to escape into the bush. Andre Chikatilo, Citizen X. This HBO TV movie from the 90s stars Stephen Ree and Donald Sutherland as 2 Soviet detectives hunting a serial killer responsible for more than 50 murders. The criminal is Andre Chikatilo, a real serial killer convicted of 52 murders between 1978 and 1990. The film faithfully portrays the facts, including the real names of those involved and the number of murders. Additionally, it gets details right, such as Chikatilo being arrested by plainclothes police officers and confessing his crimes in a psychological profile conducted by Alexander Buchanovsky. John Christie, 10 Rillington Place. This British crime drama stars Richard Attenborough as John Christie, a serial killer who murdered people in his London apartment and hid the bodies. Another resident of 10 Rillington Place, Timothy Evans, was wrongly convicted and executed for the murders of his wife and daughter. The film stands out for its accuracy in portraying real life, including Christie's method of murder, Timothy Evans' execution in 1950, and the discovery of Christie's hidden bodies in the walls. Some exterior scenes were filmed at the real Rillington Place, including those of Attenborough using the front door. Patrick Bateman, American Psycho. In this film, Patrick Bateman is a Wall Street banker and a serial killer. Although Leonardo DiCaprio, Edward Norton, Keanu Reeves, and Brad Pitt were considered for the role, Christian Bale ended up taking it and delivered one of his best performances. While Bateman doesn't have a direct real-life source, author Bret Easton Ellis was inspired by Ted Bundy, an attractive real man who killed at least 30 people in the 1970s. Although Bundy wasn't an investment banker, his appearance, personality, and methods have similarities to Bateman's. Scorpio, Dirty Harry. One of Clint Eastwood's most popular films, Dirty Harry features Inspector Harry Callahan in pursuit of a killer called Scorpio. Scorpio shoots innocent people with a sniper rifle and maintains contact with the San Francisco police, often blackmailing and demanding ransoms. The character was loosely inspired by the Zodiac, an unidentified killer who murdered at least 5 people in the greater San Francisco area in the late 1960s. Although the Zodiac didn't use a sniper rifle, he communicated with the police and press during his crime spree, often taunting them with letters and cryptograms. The case remains unsolved. Comment here if you've watched any of these films, and see you in the next video.